And we're back to Chronicle of the Crowns, session 8. And unfortunately, we don't have Terrell with us, but we will soldier on because that's what we do. So we had last time escaped the dread capital of Dulciriaf, where we stole some items from a reliquary. We fought some wraithly knights. We had some daring escapades in the sewers and above in the stormy, rain-lashed city, and we also flooded half of the city by messing with the dam that they have. So we had then, made our way out of the capital. We talked to Rathawen, the former royal sorcerer, and had parted ways with her and headed south towards the Weeping Weald and the army that we know is going to be heading to Dulciriaf. And we're going to start by our heroes arriving in the Weeping Weald war camp of Lord Beric and his banners, and the vastly larger crusading army of the Covenant of the First Flame, headed by the archpriest Kelvir. And so I think it is, I want to say it's like early afternoon when you stride into the war camp. You will have met like the sentries, like before you talk to them, they let you in. No one's thinking you're an enemy skulking in at night. And so you arrive in the war camp. So it is again the Weeping Weald, an ancient pine forest it's like a hall of trees, as the canopy and the sort of branches are fairly high up because it's pines, large ancient pines. And it's quite roomy there, except now when it's like a tent city in the forest, as they're not marching today. And it's campfires. There's the smell of cooking, the usual sounds and sights that Glarvir knows very well from campaigning, maintenance, routines, all the things that make an army work are being intended to on this day of apparent rest and maintenance before the army moves on. Right. So you're there. What do you do?
As we're walking in, I'll be taking a deep breath and smelling the campfires. And it's a very familiar sense to an old campaigner like Glarvir. And I sort of like clap Cameron on the shoulders and I'm saying, these smells take me back, lad. Back to my days in the Dwarven armed forces. There's nothing like spending a night under the stars, the crackling of the campfire, the smell of cooking. Unless I miss my guess, a small amount of libations going on. But yes, I don't know if I ever told you that I served time in the my own people's armed forces.
You have mentioned it, yes.
Ah,
Although, to be honest, I'm not really familiar with this sort of parade. All I can smell is overcooked meat and horse shit, but...
there's nothing like it, is there?
Quite. You did mention it, maybe you never... I don't know how the Dwarven military works, if you were...
Efficiently.
An infantryman? Of course.
Well, I
have cavalry?
No, we don't go in for any of that sort of newfangled nonsense. I served my time as a bannerman to one of my lords, carrying the standard into battle, that sort of thing. And I did my time in the military planning circles, tactician, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
that I am familiar with, although less directly than yourself, more from an academic perspective.
Oh, yes. Still, war's a young man's game, and I'm not exactly a spring chicken anymore. So,
I honestly can't tell.
well, age comes differently to my people than it does to yours, but it eventually comes to us all. It may take longer for the mountain kin like myself than your people, but everything has its time.
That's as you do, as you have a habit of saying. I kind of look around a little nervously, glancing at all the kind of crusading banners and tents, slightly different to Beric's, I imagine, like in terms of like their coloration.
Oh yeah, it's very distinct. So Beric's side of the camp is smaller, as I said, and it's also like a riot of different crests and flags and banners, because it's like individual people from different villages and whatnot that answer to Beric when he calls. So it's like it's just a sea of different colored, uniforms, tunics, shield paintings, the flags, and then on the Crusader side you have the same.
Okay.
They all have the same, generally the same colored tabards on. They've got the iconography and the colors, the designs on their banners are all the same. There are variations on the covenant symbols.
So seeing Cameron looking at the banners of the Covenant of the Flame, I'm going to say in what for Glava is like a quiet voice, which for most people is a normal voice.
He just changed one megaphone out for a slightly smaller one.
Since normally he shouts, like his sort of like equivalent of a whisper is just like normal talking. I'm like, I say, the Cameron, are those the banners of that church organisation that you were telling us about?
They most certainly.
If you don't mind me asking, what is the? You seem a little unsettled. I think it'd be fair to say. What's the? Anything I need to know about, or?
Well, Glavia, oh God, how do I explain centuries of history in a sentence? Before this group became prominent, we were a nation of great architecture. You've seen such in the sea. Obviously not of dwarven ilk. I will not put it up against your kind, but good. And with our, scholars, we had centers of knowledge, magical practitioners of various forms, as you have seen.
Yes.
Now, this group have risen from the ashes of a dark time that your people remember well, and they have a different view of things. Some say it brings comfort and structure, but personally I find it insidious and built upon lies.
Well,
nothing good.
Has anyone challenged these people? I mean, surely if they're as deceitful as you make them out to be, then they should be challenged.
It's not as simple as that, unfortunately. Faith is a complicated matter for our people. I don't know if you believe in such things as gods and spirits and the divine. I've not really heard you speak much, but
not in the ways that your people do.
Yes, I sort of see one of those banners flapping with like the tower and the symbols of the moon, and looking out at Beric's probably a little bit more somber affair. They believe that there is while we would say that there is interpretations, there's nuance. They have more of a rigid structure of thinking, and anything outside of that thinking is heresy and verboten. And they would seek to enforce this upon the rest of our kind, and they have been doing so for some time.
Well,
they gain traction because they have the support of the people.
Well, you have my sympathies for that, Cameron. As I've said before, the the sort of rune casting traditions that I follow is seen as somewhat eccentric by my own society. As you know, the Mountain King, like myself, we favour structure and order in all things, and the somewhat mystic leanings of the rune caster tradition, whilst long ago much respected, has somewhat fallen out of favour and is seen as eccentric and not really fitting in with the modern dwarven mindset. So I entirely sympathise.
Yeah, but unfortunately, ours is more born out of a vacuum of knowledge and of purpose. We lost our purpose with the fall of Dulciriaf, and slowly but surely things have been going awry. Just why we're on this little journey.
Indeed,
turn that a little round.
I sometimes think that's the greatest tragedy of the short lifespan that you humans have. It seems to me that it would be very easy for you to have gaps in your history and in your knowledge, whereas for my own people, and I'm sure Terrail's people as well, being as long lived as we are, we have people who remember events going back 100, 200, 300 plus years. So we have more direct access to that knowledge. We can literally go to people who were around at that time and ask them what it was like, whereas for yourselves you must rely on fragmentary records, and as we've seen, information like things can be lost and forgotten over the course of time.
Stories change over time. That's what I've found. I glance back towards where the city would be. Obviously, we can't see it from here. I do wonder what they expect to find up there.
I think perhaps we should endeavour to locate Lord Beric and see if we can. We should obviously inform him about the flooding, and I of course have memorised the route that we took through the sewers. I do not know how passable it will be now due to the flooding, but we can at least give them that knowledge. It may profit them to some degree.
We should try and dissuade him from going to the city if we can.
I do not believe that would be possible, given no doubt the effort he has put into acquiring this host and travelling here. I can't see that he'll be unduly keen to turn around and head back home with nothing gained. And these Covenant forces are, again, an entirely different matter. As you say, people of faith are often not to be dissuaded from their course.
That's where on my way, Glavy. Out of my own curiosity, since you said you were a man who served many years in a campaign.
Aye.
Well, two questions really. One, does the person who led the forces you served under, does he still exist? So you said your people are long lived. Did your commander still live to this day?
Alas, no. I served under a number of commanders. Some of them fell in battle. Some of them are still around. Some have moved on to different positions. As I say, was a young dwarf's game.
Well, secondly, and I appreciate the sharing there. How do you gauge their combat readiness? Do they seem like a well organized force, well trained? From your perspective, it's not something that I know really well.
You mean the Covenant forces or Lord Beric's forces?
The Crusaders. Beric, I'm sure he can handle himself. Maybe not in a war, in a skirmish certainly. But I'm more curious to the Church's forces.
Well, I'd need to get a bit of a closer look before I could speak with any degree of authority. I mean, obviously we're at a distance. We're just sort of glimpsing them at the moment. I mean, if you're happy to wander closer, I'm happy to have a look over their forces and give you my impressions, of course.
I do have a question for the Wheelmaster in the sky, though, as we get closer. So I don't know if we ever established. I know we talked a little bit about it before the campaign started. But what is the current, if I'm even aware of it, what is the current view of the church against magic practitioners? And secondly, this is probably this may come up more useful for me in a minute. Is would the church employ magical practitioners to serve in their military force, will there be people here of that ilk?
Yeah, so you can derive the answer to your second question from the answer to the first one, which is that absolutely they are very interested in the arts.
Right.
They employ, to your knowledge, because you're from Riathil, which is where the sort of, I suppose, like the headquarters of the Covenant is. They had very close ties to the Tower of Wisdom, which is the school that you you got your education in.
So this is, I'm sort of edging towards an idea, and I'm tempted. I don't know if I dare pull the trigger, but it certainly will help me achieve a goal if I can.
Yeah. So I will say some more. So
okay,
you're aware that recently is like any sort of like quote unquote secular rulership in Riathil is mostly a puppet show, if it exists at all. It is indeed the hierarch of the Covenant. That is
the church's game, essentially.
Yeah, it's basically the Covenant runs Riathil now.
Yeah.
And this has happened. This has like escalated in, let's say, the past 10 years. And to your understanding now, you've been absent from the Tower of Wisdom for some time, but from what you can tell, they're basically the same organization now. The Tower of Wisdom and all the sort of arcane scholarship and the Covenant are basically melded to the point where it's the same.
Using them as soldiers now.
Same interests. So the answer would be absolutely. They probably have several, not only summoners, which is part of their religious practices anyway, but also capable sorcerers in the crusading army here.
So what I'm going to do, I don't have to do it now because we want to talk to Beric.
Yeah.
But my idea was sort of scratching the back of my head was to use my circles to see if I can find a student I taught previously at the school here as an adult who's serving with the Covenant, and I can try and get some details out of them about what they're doing.
Yeah, we can make the roll. Absolutely.
That's what I will attempt.
Before we leave because I'm presuming we sat around one of the campfires or whatever.
Yep.
I would say, Cameron, before we leave the campfire and we're going to inspect those Covenant forces, since you were asking about the arts that I employ, perhaps you'd care for a demonstration.
100, absolutely. I always seek knowledge, even if it is forbidden.
I reach into a tattered pouch and I take out a series of stones with dwarven runes inscribed on there, and I say, yes, it's the rune caster's art that we can cast these runes, and it reveals something of the potential paths that a person may walk, and I'm going to try and use my rune casting skill on Cameron.
God.
I just so happen to have the page here.
And not only that, you have, and I think we might have forgotten about this thing last time, but you bought, in your character creation, you bought dwarven tools, which are tools for a specific skill, and we did establish that that's the rune casting kit that you have. And I think dwarven tools give you +1 die advantage because they're good. So
sweet.
I will confirm that now, but I was just browsing your sheet and I was like, wait, dwarven tools, that's what you're using. So I need to check that and get your advantage die to you if that's how it's supposed to go.
I also know the obstacle for pronouncing a fate is equal to 10 minus the target's highest circles plus reputation plus affiliation, or 10 minus the points value of the most expensive non-common traits, whichever's lower. So we'd need to work that out for Matthew's character.
Yeah, so you get +1 die, indeed, for using your dwarven rune stones. Okay, so gonna pull that up now and also check out what the obstacle is.
And what the hell, I'll drop a persona into it, why not?
Yeah, and if you really want to go ham, you can drop 2 more.
Oh, yeah, why not?
It's 3 max per.
I'll drop an extra 3 dice into like reading the fate of Cameron.
Okay.
The runes.
The obstacle for pronouncing a fate is equal to 10 minus the target's highest circle's reputation affiliation. That is probably not going to be the most expensive one, but let's see. So, Cameron, I'm messing on your sheet. Sorry.
Okay.
Or it's 10 minus their most expensive non-common trait, whichever's lower.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... Your circles is 2. So that would be 7, or then 10 minus the point value of the character's most expensive non-common trait. It's going to be that one. So moving on to here, checking out your stuff. It's gonna be Spirit Familiar or Born to be King. I think those would be the most expensive ones. Or Tainted Legacy. Let me look that up. Oh, spoilers, by the way. Okay, Tainted Legacy.
I love the fact that like half of like Matthew's like traits sound like 80s new romantic like albums.
Yep.
It was the vibe I was going for.
That's it, man.
Okay. So, since we're going in alphabetical order, I'm going to check Born to be King first. Well, it's in the human section, isn't it? Okay. Here we go. So Born to be King is 5. And then Tainted Legacy is also 5. So it's 5.
Okay, let me slap that obstacle 5 on then. See how we do.
Yep.
Got that 5 successes.
Yep, spot on. You've got 3 6s there as well. Now, and this is like thinking long term a little bit. If you want to, you can chuck in a fate point, reroll those 3 6s, and go for extra.
Yeah, why not?
Oh,
1 success.
One more. Okay, so that would be 1 advantage against. Yeah, and that's a difficult roll for you. Okay.
Okay, let me just mark that off for my rune casting.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know what happens. Oh, Castor of Runes.
Okay, I'm just marking down all the points I spent on it. Okay, so successful use allows the player to pronounce the target character's fate. The rune caster player may look at the target's beliefs, which is why I've got Matthew's sheet up on my screen. The fate he pronounces must tie into one of the beliefs, and it must be suitably dire. A rise to power, a tragic death, or a Pyrrhic victory, for example. In order for the pronouncement to have a chance of coming true, the runecaster must change one of his beliefs to match the fate. It's ultimately up to the target whether or not he will embrace the fate or veer from it. However, if a scene is played out in which the fate is fulfilled, you get a deed point. So if I pronounce your fate, Matthew, and then you like achieve that, you get a deeds point. And if you're killed while you're fulfilling that fate, your next character gets a deed point.
Those deed points are they're the good stuff.
Yeah, that's the
they're
top
like the
level.
Capo del Monte of like fate points, mate.
Yep.
I can't remember what you can do with them, but I know it's good.
You can either re-roll all your failed stuff in a roll, or before you roll, you can double your dice.
Right. Okay. So I Glave cast these runes in the flickering light of the fire, bewildering dwarven symbols that probably don't mean anything to Cameron. And as he looks at it, his voice sounds a little bit hollow and a little bit like he's a little bit far away or a little distant. And then as he sort of like moves the stones around, like not tipping the runes over, but just sort of peering at them and examining them, he says, "Ah, yes, I see I see the Covenant of the Flame. You see this rune here? That is the Dwarven rune for fire. And I see that you, Cameron, Redwyn, you will spell the doom of the Covenant of the Flame and will bring about its downfall.
How loud are you shouting this? Because
Loud.
Oh boy. Okay.
I can't help it. I always shout.
So that's you getting a point right there, John.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change I'll make preparations and set out on a journey to Khaz-Karad to I will aid Cameron in overthrowing
This flame is going out.
the dominance of the Covenant of the Flame. Now, obviously, you don't have to do that, Cameron, but obviously if you do bring about the downfall of the Covenant of the Flame, obviously it's long term, you'll get a deeds point for it. And as long as I'm helping you, I get points as well.
I have to decide now if I'm going
No,
embrace it.
you do it in play. You might do nothing towards it.
Yep. You do whatever you want to. Now, if you wanted to immediately start changing your beliefs here, depending on how you feel about this, you can absolutely go ahead and do that.
I feel like right now he wouldn't change his beliefs because he doesn't have a personal reason to bring them down. He doesn't like them, but he hasn't found an inciting incident to actually take action to tear them down.
Yeah, see, with me, because the pronunciation I make, it has to be connected with one of your beliefs. So,
when I expose their true intentions, that might change pretty quick.
See, that's it. That's why I've zeroed in on that, because you're like, oh, you want to expose the true intentions and whatever. So I have to basically make it like an epic fate. It can't just be like, oh, you're going to cause them a minor inconvenience.
But obviously, Cameron's been watching this very intently as you've done this, and is fascinated by the kind of ritual of it, the kind of the things that how you'd perform it.
Yeah, I'll be pointing at a rune and say that this rune represents you, and I see the rune for doom and the rune for flame and faith. Make no mistake, Cameron, you will spell the doom.
Okay, so I pick up the rune, and unless he stops me, and I kind of, just as a little flavour, I kind of roll it in my finger, and to Cameron, obviously, whatever in dwarf it could mean anything, but to Cameron it looks like a kind of a stick figure of a fox, and he just kind of smirks and sort of puts it down. Yeah,
I like to think that's probably the rune that represents you, and it probably is like the dwarven rune for like fox or some sort of similar animal.
Sly fox.
Yep.
And I'll say, and as a true rune caster, I pledge here and now, Cameron, and my voice sort of does lower a bit at this point, I will help you achieve this destiny if it be within my power to do so.
I grab him by the shoulder. I thank you for your heartfelt aid, Lavia, but if you recall what Rathwin said, these people are going to their deaths. I do not need to take action against them.
Indeed, these people may be going to their deaths, but as you have said, the roots of this organisation...
I don't wish for their deaths, but...
The roots of the organisation, as the Covenant of the Flame, run deep. Surely the whole of their number is not here. For as you have said, faith is a pernicious thing. And even if all of these people here perish, there will be those that still believe, and this faith, this organisation may rise again from the ashes. But make no mistake, if the runes and fate to be correct, you will spell their downfall, and you will be the one standing when they are but ashes blowing on the wind.
Well, I wish you had said this when Eartham was still with us. Perhaps you would have aided us further.
Well, it is. If
fate
be willing, we may yet see her again.
Perhaps.
In my people's views, fate has a way of bringing those together who need to be together. I believe we may yet see her again.
I feel the same. Under what circumstances, though? That remains to be seen.
Once one has made one's peace with fate, Cameron, you will learn to accept that nothing ever truly ends.
You do not feel the need to change fate if it displeases you, Glavia.
One can no more fight against fate than one can command the tides to turn back. It is simply a matter of whether we are destined to struggle against fate, and perhaps we profit in that struggle, but in the end, fate always has its way, or whether we embrace that fate. But that is a decision that each person has to make for themselves.
You counsel acceptance is the key here.
Not necessarily, Cameron. I counsel that it is each person's place to decide. After all, remember, very few are even aware of what fate has in store for them. Even my talents at rune casting give us a merest glimpse at the greater tapestry of fate. But it is down to you to decide whether you embrace this fate and hold it dear and near to you, or whether you struggle against it. It may be that my casting is false or contains subtleties that I have yet to perceive. Even runecasters such as myself cannot know the wills of fate as explosions go off in the background. Such is the power of fate. But know this, Cameron, whether you decide to accept this fate or struggle against it, I will aid you as long as it is in my power to do so.
Well, I will admit
I have spoken.
that these last few years have not been what I imagined my life to be at that time. So who knows what could happen.
Know this, Cameron, whenever things seem their darkest, we are all in the place that we are meant to be. At any time, wherever we are, is where we are supposed to be. This brings me comfort, although I am distant from my people, and sometimes the way seems dark, but I believe that fate may have other things in store for us, but we are now where we are supposed to be now.
So you hear a voice from behind you, and it is Lord Beric saying, "Do your stones tell what fate has in store for me?" And you see him stood there. Apparently he has been there for a bit. He's just got his armor on, is hanging out nonchalantly in the back.
If you wish me to cast the runes for you, I'm not sure how it works for NPCs, but then I can do so, Lord Beric, if it would please you.
It would indeed, if you would be willing.
And I will gather up the runes. I'll hold my hand out to Cameron for the one that he's holding.
Oh, I put it back. It was only a quick I just examined it because I thought it was amusing that it's this.
I like to think as I'm looking across, I'm like, you're still not looking at stuff. I'm like, now's not the time. Focus, Glavia, focus. And yeah, I put them all in the bag. I shake the bag up to randomise them, then dip my hand in the bag, pull out a handful with my eyes shut without looking, and I just sort of cast them on the ground in front of me in the flickering light of the fire. I don't know whether you want me to make a roll.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't really have NPC beliefs or anything.
I'm giving you the beliefs in the chat in just a second.
Well, it's not going to come true because I ain't changing one of my beliefs to match Beric's belief. Anybody got time for Beric's beliefs?
I mean, don't count it before you read what his beliefs
Although,
are.
yeah, to be fair, if it's something stonking, I'll be like, yes, I'm on board the Beric train.
Choo choo.
That's it.
2 tickets.
What's it? Terrell's going to come back and I'm like, well, good news, Terrell, I've got my rune casting skill. Bad news is all of my beliefs have changed. I'm now helping half a dozen people achieve their fates.
Can you get additional beliefs just for fates, or does it have to stick to the...
No, I have to change one of my existing ones.
Right. Okay.
But you know what? I believe in fate. If that's the price you got to pay. That's what you gotta do.
You gotta pay.
I mean, if you need an example of the power of fate, we're just doing we're doing a bit of fate casting. We're going to go see Lord Beric in a bit. Oh, who's this who's just shown up behind me? Oh, it's Lord Beric. Also interested in fate.
I feel like you're gonna give him bad news.
Possibly.
Like, real bad news.
I can only speak for fate. And even then, I am but a poor vessel. So I can only, as I say, there may be subtleties and twists and turns that are not visible to me. This is the rune stones are not a precise tool. They just give us a glimpse of a far bigger picture, one that is normally hidden from us.
What do you predict for Beric? What is the...
So there's Beric's beliefs
Oh, sweet.
in the chat.
Oh, some of them look tasty. Oh, I'm not spending all my points on Beric there. Don't get me wrong, I like Beric, but let's get my rune cast on. I've got a pretty good skill in it. I get +1 for my tools. Oh, do you know what? I probably shouldn't want to throw a persona point into it, because I do like Beric. Okay, what's the obstacle?
So it was either the highest non-common trait or the combination of basically circles, affiliations, and reputations.
That's right, yeah.
And he is stacked with that. So I'm gonna say his obstacle is probably to the tune of 4.
Okay.
And this is entirely because of his connections. It's not because he's got mad traits.
8 successes.
Oh,
that's right. They call me the Rune Daddy. On 2 6s, best believe I'm dropping a fate into that.
Oh boy.
9 successes.
One more. You can reroll the 6.
Yeah, boy. 10 successes. Get in there. Tell me what Beric's fate is.
Wow.
Okay,
That's the
which
opposite
one
of
are you declaring?
Okay, right.
Oh boy.
Oh, you know which one I'm going to go for.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, they'll be playing like you don't. Right, so obviously I'm going to go for I claim the crown of Dulciriaf and become king.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is, as I'm sort of moving the runes around and I'm looking at them, I'm going to pick up a stone and I'll say, yes, I see great power and influence in your future, Lord Beric. This stone represents you. It's up to you what the rune is that represents him. And then I'll say, this is the rune of rulership. And you see its closeness to your own rune. As I peer through the tides of fate, I see a great crown descending upon your head. It is the crown of Dulciriaf. I hear the echo of people shouting your name, lining the streets. I believe that fate, if my reading be correct, decrees that you will one day sit upon the throne of Dulciriaf.
He smirks and chuckles a bit, runs a hand through his graying hair, and it's like, well, it is not for feeble things that your runes are cast for, are they?
No, it is a great insult to try the patience of fate for trivial things. The events that we are involved in, the actions we take, cause ripples the more influence and power someone wields, and the greater their deeds, the mightier the ripples that they make, and are therefore easier for humble runecasters like myself to read. And at this point, I'm sort of looking at my beliefs to see which one I can change. Because, yeah, I'll see Lord Beric as like the Lord of Dulciriaf.
You're changing another.
I have to if I want it to come true. I'm going to remove that.
Did we have a conversation like 2 minutes ago, John? Did we have a... Do you have any beliefs left that are not fate related?
Yeah, my 2 oaths. I don't change my 2 oaths.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the I will renew the pledge to blah, 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 humans and dwarves. I'll get rid of that. Let's see. So I'm open to suggestions here, guys. 'Cause obviously, the obvious thing would be like, yes, I'm going to sign up to your armies, Lord Beric. Let's take Dulciriaf, which I'm fully up for. But obviously, I don't want to entirely disrupt the game by me suddenly be like, forget you guys, I'm off to sign up for Beric's crusade. So I'm open to suggestions. Cause in order for this to vaguely stand a chance of coming true, I have to have a belief that's connected with it.
I want to say, because of the belief that you're replacing, because I really enjoy that. I feel like one of the ways here, like, and we have to take into account like what Glarvir thinks actually is true. But my suggestion would be like, take that belief, retool it to be like, I will, counsel Lord Beric because I see the worth in him, and I want him to step away from this insane, death march, and instead of doing this thing, actually, send people to Mulbrannan, hook up with the dwarves like this was the old days, and make an alliance with the dwarves and like work long term instead of going on this crusade and dying.
Right, okay, so what I've changed it to is I will counsel Lord Beric because I see his worth. I will guide him to reforge an alliance between dwarves and men to reclaim Dulciriaf. So as I'm like continuing reading the runes, I'm going to say, however, Lord Beric, the runes also reveal darkness should you continue on your present path. The strength of arms though you bear at the moment, although they are mighty indeed, they are not sufficient to see you wear the crown of Dulciriaf upon your brow. As in times of old, when my people fought alongside yours, and at this point I'm going to like put the axe down in front of me, as symbolised by this axe, the open hand, once a bridge between your people and mine. Only through reforging these old alliances will you gain the throne of Dulciriaf. Myself, Cameron, and our absent friend Tirael, we intend to travel to the lost dwarven hold of Khaz-Karad. My people are currently engaged in their own crusade to reclaim it. I believe, reading these runes, that if you are able to reforge those ancient ties, those alliances between your people and mine, and I will aid you in that in any way I can, that with our combined strength you may sit upon the throne of Dulciriaf and wear the crown one day as its king.
Yeah, like he was being quite jovial, like, tell me my fortune, like, you will be king. It's like, I did not expect that. So he was being quite jovial, but as you continue your read, he grows more serious and almost like morose a little bit. And he says, I did have my doubts about our capability regarding some of the things that I know and have been told about whatever inhabits the old capital these days.
Indeed, there are restless spirits, fell creatures that wander the stone halls of Dulciriaf. Friend Tirael has bought us some time. He has flooded one of the dams in the city, and I am aware of a secret way to enter the city using the ancient sewer works, which I can relate to, although I do not now know how passable it is. But if you are going to claim Dulciriaf, as I believe you should, then you will need great strength of numbers and of arms. No mere mortal weapons or mortal host can hope to prevail against the foul magics of Dulciriaf. You will need a far greater army than this, and although I will do my best to counsel you, you will need far wiser and more powerful people than myself to aid you if you are to achieve what I believe is to be your destiny.
He says, would that I had this arcane craft on my side. And he sort of turns to look at the other side of the camp, towards where the crusade is. And he turns to Cameron and Glover both. So what would you counsel then, now, right this moment?
As I've said, our original plan was to return to Strathfel to resupply, and then we make tracks towards Khaz-Karad. There will no doubt be a force of my people there, since the crusade to reclaim it has kindled a zeal amongst my people not seen for many years. Many of the noble lords, the influential mountain kin, are fully engaged in this quest. It is my belief that if you are able to send a force, or perhaps yourself, and aid them in this, it would do much to reforge the alliance between our two peoples, and in return my people would be honor bound, since that is our way, to return that favor, and you would have a far easier time in, I'm not saying it would be easy, but it would be easier to penetrate to the dark heart of Dulciriaf with a host of the mountain kin, as well as your own people behind you, and all of the craftsmanship and the knowledge that my people possess at your service. Now, I am but a humble, grey-bearded rune caster amongst my people. I have some small sway amongst my noble kin, but for what it is worth, if I can help persuade them that they should throw in their lot with you, then I will do so, and I'm going to hold out my hand to him.
Yeah. He'll grab your hand and say, I appreciate your words. I truly do.
I will. Oh, I was going to add additional flavor to this council, and while he's shaking hands, just add what Glavius says is wise and true. Council, from what we have seen up in the old city, admittedly not for long, that place was lost by man, and perhaps it cannot truly be reclaimed just by man. It may require something else. And remembering the old friendships and the old orders may be one path to get it back.
Indeed, Cameron speaks wisely. After all, was it not that strength in ancient times forged of the three peoples of this world that was able to turn back the darkness? I believe, and I believe fate has told us, that it is only by rekindling those most ancient of alliances and rebuilding those friendships that we can once more force back the darkness and bring a more golden time to all of our peoples.
And I will add the individual that the Covenant wishes to test themselves against, through means we are not entirely sure, most likely tied to the crown, though. He has branded his followers with a mark, of which I would show you, but I'm unsure the danger of doing so right now. This enables them some kind of control to extend their reach.
At this point, can I give him, because also with my like iron memory, I want to basically, I'm not going to draw it because as Cameron said, we don't know what power the mark has, but I'm going to give him like a very accurate like verbal description of the mark. So like if he saw it, he'd recognise what it was.
Yeah. So you described the mark of fealty that
Yes.
we've seen before. Yep.
In terms of, I'm glad you can correct me, in terms of like a battle commander, it is as if he can see, as if he is present when his men encounters his enemy. He can be anywhere in the city that he wishes.
Aye,
That
foul
information
magics.
Yes, but also, it appears, as far as we know, it has only affected our kind, and I got obviously self burn our kind. We do not
He
know
holds
what
up a hand and says, "It was late at night when I saw this, but I went by the temporary arrangement that we have for those poor people and miscreants that you brought back from the Weald. They had the mark that you described.
Then he is likely aware of your coming already.
They are in Strathfel where we left them, and now you're saying that whatever fell power resides in the capital can
extend its reach through them. I do not know exactly what limitations, for this is the first time we've seen this in play, but it seems
this is troubling.
that there is a connection. And also, as I was trying to, as far as we know, it only affects our kind. If you ally yourselves with the dwarven people, if you can get them on our side, they may have some resistance to this. We don't know for sure. That might prove pivotal in an actual battle with him.
Might I make a suggestion how this potential problem can be turned into an opportunity? I do not claim to understand these magics. It is not the way of my people. But from what Cameron has said regarding this mark, perhaps then use it to your advantage, Lord Beric. If you were to let it accidentally be known in front of the people bearing the mark that you were withdrawing and you had no further plans for Dulciriaf, let them think what you want the enemy to think, and in that way pass them false information. So when you have reforged the ancient alliance and the time is right to strike against Dulciriaf, the enemy will be unaware of it, whereas if you strike now, your forces, and I don't mean to say this to be insulting, your forces will not be sufficient. And the enemy is already, we have seen this, is already on high alert. The waves of your current forces will splash against them like waves against a cliff face. Far better to withdraw, marshal your forces, and then when the time is right and the enemy is least aware, then to strike and make your play to claim your destiny. Can I ask at this point?
Yes.
As during like a conversation with Beric, and obviously he's been around like the Covenant of the Flame, whatever. Have we got any sort of like vibe about what he thinks about the Covenant of the Flame? I'm getting the vibe that he's not particularly fond of them.
Yeah.
You got Beric wise.
Beric wise.
I've just read his Destiny, mate.
Yeah. The most explicit we've seen from him, it was when he was like a bottle and a half into wine.
Yep.
And he introduced you to his mother's previous workshop.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, the statue out there, like the Strathfel people like made it for my mother before the Covenant burned her as a heretic. And he's not outright said it, but not a fan.
So basically, in a sort of slightly lower voice, I'm going to say, it is my belief that you will not dissuade the Covenant from wasting themselves uselessly against Dulciriaf. If they are going to attack anyway, why not observe what happens to them and use that information so that when you make your attack, you will be forewarned and, in a sense, forearmed. Let them waste themselves fruitlessly in an attack on Dulciriaf. Get what information you can from it, and then withdraw, reforge the old alliance, give the enemy time to think that they have defeated you and your allies, and you're withdrawing, and then when they least expect it, that is the time to strike.
It is a prolonged effort. I fear that this war against Dulciriath will be a long one.
Well,
I will take your words into...
My Lord Beric, nothing ever worth fighting for came easily.
I will take your counsel and wish you a safe journey back to Strathfel, if that is where you're going.
It is, and after there, on to Khaz-Karad. I would suggest, even if you do not believe that you can attend yourself, it may be worth sending a representative with us to represent your interests, if you do indeed wish to reforge an alliance with my people, since that will carry more weight than the words of a simple runecaster like myself.
I will, and he shouts for a courier, and there's a one of the youngsters, really, for like they're messengers. So one of the youngsters for the army runs over with some parchment, and Beric scribbles a note, and the youngster is like lighting up a candle for Beric to put the wax on.
Nice.
Hits it with the signet ring that he has, and he gives you the like hastily scribbled parchment. It's like, hand this to my steward in Strathfel, and he will make sure that you will have someone to attend you as you go, because I will not be able to join you now, and if I will later, it will be some time. But as you say, there is something of an interest here to safeguard, so I will send a representative. Just hand that over to the steward, and that will be done.
Of course, and I tuck it down in my armor to keep it safe.
Yep.
I would suggest considering making contact with the Dark Watchers as well. For I believe that their goals and yours are more aligned than you would realize.
Oh. He chuckles a bit and then smiles sadly and says, "Oh yes, I know. I quite know. For my mother was one."
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Yes, most people are.
Well, I thank you for sharing. It's that considering what you told us before, I'm sad to hear of her end.
Oh, I fully believe that what befell her had something to do with this.
I would agree.
That being said, I'm not privy to whatever secrets they hoard somewhere else.
Well, we will do, as a felt that watcher, we will do good in her name. She'll be remembered.
Also, well, we all try in our small ways, I suppose.
Glavia keeps telling me, whether I know it or not. If you wish, we are returning to Strathfel. We can make sure that these branded fellows are not causing any mischief.
Very good.
And if it is of no problem for yourself, Lord Beric, I noticed you had a workshop when we were exploring the town, an alchemical place.
My mother's study, yes.
Would you be have any issue with me taking a few supplies from there for my journey. I have a little talent in the art.
Well, Matthew, would you like to roll your persuade?
Yep, I would definitely like to fail another persuade roll. Certainly.
Yeah.
Persuasion.
I do believe we went with. I don't have this down, but we rolled this once before at least.
I've got it on my skills being learned.
I mean, that's what I should have done in the rune casting. I should have been like, oh, Cameron, I see wands in your future. Many wands.
Many ones. I shall attempt to make the roll.
Yeah, just let me. Okay, here we go. Okay. I'm looking for when we tried to persuade Beric for the first time. Okay.
Was that me? Or was that?
I don't remember.
I think it might have been our elf friend.
Oh shit! Yeah, yeah. That's gonna take a while. I forget the chat log goes all the way back to our the con games that we. This is the same setup here.
Same
So I don't have that right now, but let's call Beric at a 5.
Oof. Okay.
Because this is kind of his, main deal.
Okay.
Maybe slap up a soda in it.
Oh my god. Oh, I get there were 2 6s in there, but John, I can't beat a 10. I just look at it. Just look at it.
The fates have decreed it was not meant to be.
Even if I had put Persona in there, it wasn't going to scratch that. I guess I get some nice XP though.
Yeah, you can mark your persuade.
So if it's challenging, does that mean I get 2?
No. It's just every try you do, it's 1 dot.
1. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on my way.
Yeah. So Beric says, well, if we are trading mementos, you would have something of my mother's. I would have that in return. And he motions towards your scepter.
Well, Beric, I would happily trade this for such a generous offer. However, this scepter is not actually mine to trade. It is Galavia's. He lent me it in our excursion into the city, so I cannot vouch for this, unfortunately.
At this point, I'm going to ask, and feel free to say no, because obviously I failed the greed roll originally. But I'm trying to protect the members of the Fellowship, of which Cameron is one. I'm also trying to get Lord Beric on side, and he obviously wants this scepter. Is it possible for me to force my greed down to let him have the scepter?
So let's review greed and what it says. I think it's just you need to roll for the thing that you want to do, which is exactly that. So where is the greed? Here we go. So so did you originally fail?
Yes, I did. Yep. That's why I jumped on it.
Where's the focuses? Right. Okay. Well. Yeah, that's an interesting thing because so this is on page 122.
Yep.
the result for she's magnificent was I must have it. If you failed, so must attempt to purchase steel. And the thing is,
It does say beliefs and oaths can mitigate greed.
yeah.
Well, that just reduces the initial greed test.
Yeah. So. Because the let it ride, which is the you roll once for a thing and then that stand.
Yep.
Again, this is one of the things that is sort of clarified later on in the corpus of text for this game, but it's kind of an intent that lasts for a session.
Yep.
So I think what we could do right now is have you roll greed,
Okay.
again, and see what the result is. But the thing is, it's not like you need to. Beliefs and oaths can mitigate greed. Reduced by 1. Yeah. I guess this is a chance for us to make this call, really, how we want to handle this. So we know that originally you wanted to have this thing. Now, by the rules, we don't need to hold that result up. And it feels kind of weird having you trigger greed every time you see the object.
Yeah.
On the other hand. So I guess in this case, because you already, it's yours.
Yep.
And you must have it. And you have it. So you don't need to, now you're hoarding it, which doesn't have specific wording in any of the greed rules. It's the acquisition of the thing. So I guess it would be up to you to decide then, are you rolling greed again, or are you going to be able to deal with it? But it's always going to, you will always remember the scepter that you had, but don't have anymore. The one
that got away.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Cameron a nod and sort of gesture with my head to hand it over to Beric. And I'm going to say, let us say, Lord Beric, that I will gift it to you on a long-term loan as hopefully what I hope will be a sign of future renewed friendships between our people.
You drive a hard bargain, but I will note that it is highly likely that however long-term this lending is,
my people live long.
I will likely have passed on before you, so I will take the deal for the appreciation that I have for the mountain folk.
And I for you. And I'll gesture for Cameron to hand over.
I will do so with some genuine kind of surprise that truly a day for unexpected tales and twists.
Yeah, Lord Beric says, we live in very surprising times, I find.
But as Glavia told me as you were listening, that we find ourselves exactly where we need to be, despite the strangeness of it.
And so it would appear. We are stood here on the doorstep of apparently doom, and you have arrived just in time to bring me word of alternatives.
Indeed.
Ones I would seriously consider.
And at this point, I'm going to basically give him the full schematics of the route we took in the sewers. But again, I'll sort of remind him that there's been a flood. It was fine when we came out, but it may not be passable, but it's how we got in and out so easily.
Yep. Right. So you explain what you know about these sewers to Beric, and he he's going to reaffirm that he will take your advice into account, and he will act out some kind of a plan as they go forward. And yeah, he wishes you well on your journey back, and looks forward to your reunion, which admittedly might take a long time. But
Indeed. Well, we must be going until we meet again, Lord Beric.
yeah, shakes everyone's hands.
So then, Cameron, shall we strike out for Strathfel?
Not just yet. Your talk of overthrowing the the Covenant has given me an idea.
Oh.
I wish to better understand what they're up to here. It is obvious that they have interest in Dulciriaf, and the crown kind of has a certain pull, right?
Well, perhaps, as we said earlier, although we didn't get a chance to do it, perhaps we should take a wander over near their encampment, and I can cast an eye over their forces, as you asked me to do earlier, and mayhap that may shed some light on the current situation.
Perhaps I will find someone who is willing to talk.
Yep. So I think we're gonna head over to like the Covenant of the Flame. I'm basically wandering over and being like, oh, what shape their like military forces are in, and obviously Cameron's looking for someone who likes willing to have a bit of a chat.
Do you have like campaign wise or something? Because you are a
Yeah,
Well-
boy.
Does he ever? Yep. So whatever you guys want to achieve there, just get your intent and task in order, and we'll smash through those rolls.
Yep. So my intent is to use my campaign wise, possibly with forking in my command, if that's applicable. And I'm basically just trying to get an assessment of how strong I think their military forces are, how well prepared they are, that sort of thing. Just a general sort of overview of like their military might.
Right. I think command is, I would say, it at least in this instance, probably like forking it doesn't. If you're looking to make an overview, probably doesn't apply because it's the leadership in battle. But like to highlight this, if you were to command in like this situation,
Yeah.
in a battle, absolutely, for campaign wise, into command, absolutely all day.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, campaign wise, if you're taking a look around,
I'll just go with campaign wise then.
yeah. So just to get an overview is not very hard at all because they're camped here. Everything's sort of there. And I'm just gonna say it's one. Like this is not difficult. You're in the camp of the army.
2 successes.
Yeah. And that is a routine. So like an overview of how capable they are, like what's the
What the sort of military might is like.
Mm.
And
They've
obviously
got-
we have sort of some idea as well as what
Yeah.
they're going to face. So
they've got a lot of baseline pikemen, shields, pikes. They've got a lot of heavy infantry in the form of heavy infantry, like armored troops. They've got plenty of horses for cavalry and other purposes, and they've got clearly, as well as what like Beric mentioned and what you know about them, they've got the arts mystical on their side as well, and you spot some of those, but it's not very clear to you like how potent that is or how that factors into things. But as far as you know, this is a proper army size group. There's, I want to say, like all things considered, like there's probably a couple thousand people milling about at the very least. Beric's got maybe like a quarter of that, maybe. Yeah, it's a good sized group. In a normal situation, this would be a like an actual good, fighting fighting force. They've got archers as well. They've got their game on lock. Really, the archpriest leading them is doing a good job, and your sort of take on it is that, yeah, this army could knock over a city, given enough time and some siege equipment. Of course, they don't need siege equipment to take over the ruined capital because its defenses are not really what they used to be. But it's not going to be a normal situation up north, as you know. But yeah, it's a good, well organized, well equipped. Like everything is kind of okay. Like you don't see poor stuff. Like nothing is rusted really. It's well maintained and well outfitted.
Yeah, so as I'm walking around, obviously I'll relay that to Cameron.
Mm.
You know, I would like pointing out like the pikemen, the archers, etc. And obviously it's clear they've got some sort of mystically inclined people, although I don't make any claims to understand the precise nature of that. I think were this a normal siege and them to be well equipped, I would certainly believe they could take and hold a reasonably sized human city. Obviously, we know that Dulciriaf is not a normal human city by any stretch of the means.
Do they seem well trained, disciplined?
Yes, they seem most proficient. They seem to have been drilled thoroughly, and their leaders seem to have their confidence. As I say, it seems to be a polished and well-maintained fighting force. I would think under normal circumstances they would be quite the opposition for a city, but Dulciriaf is a different matter entirely. We've seen but a couple of examples of what may lie in wait there, and they are not the normal enemy troops that they'll be facing.
I was kind of hoping that you would pick up on some kind of unusual configuration or strange siege equipment they brought with them. This just seems like a normal army.
They don't seem to have a great deal of siege equipment, but I would not expect them to. After all, Dulciriaf, for all intents and purposes, is a ruin. There is no need. There is no need to batter down the walls or launch ballistas over the battlements when the way is open.
It seems. I don't know. To me, it seems that the church's resources, they wouldn't be entirely ignorant of the situation in Dulciriaf. So how are they planning to get around its particular problems? And at this point, I will attempt to make my circles roll. See if I run into any of my old students. Or someone from the school. Maybe it was another teacher or something like that.
Yeah, well, you determine right now what that is because it will affect the roll.
My preference would be a student because they're probably more favorable to me.
Yeah, you can determine that freely. Like you need to set the terms for who you're looking for.
So a student, it probably would be another summoner.
All right.
I am a mass summoner. The rules may not back that up when I'm trying to summon something, but I am a mass summoner. Did the teaching job, did the gig for a few years.
Yeah, you've got the diploma.
Preferably on good terms. Maybe I only taught them for a few years. Maybe I left when when their studies were incomplete. But, you obviously know what's going on at the tower. Well, I don't know what you see. The wheelmaster knows.
Yeah. So you don't have a student life path, I think, right?
I don't believe so.
I'm gonna jump here. Apt pupil is the one that you have in a noble court, though. So you don't have the sort of magic school type deal, which is where you taught in the Tower of Wisdom. So it's going to be within the same setting because you were in the Tower of Wisdom. You just never were a student there. You learned your arts, like you got your grounding elsewhere.
Self-made man.
Yeah. It's the same setting, but not the same life path. So we're looking at an obstacle 3 for this.
Obstacle 3. Okay.
I will highlight once again. You can dump up to, I say dump, really, it's like inject or enhance your dice with your persona
For me, it
points.
was dumb because last time I just
Yeah.
threw it away. But I was planning to anyway
Mm-hmm.
for this one. This is important. This is information that I do want.
Yep.
Well, Cameron wants. So
And I will highlight as well. You can define specific conditions for the person.
yeah.
So you could say, I want a student from the Tower of Wisdom who knows what the mission is about, the crusade is about.
Yeah, that's what I want. I basically want a student that I taught previously, preferably in good terms, as far as I'm aware, who knows what their true intentions are and the method of which they're going to go about it, like their strategy. So that's what Glavia was kind of like the military side. And now I'm trying to turn the magical. Perhaps they have some kind of curveball. Do I have any reputations, affiliations, or advantages in this situation?
Your only reputation is, I will actually mend this. So it's your only affiliation is the nobility of Riathil, the place you're from. And that's it.
So no bonus there.
Yeah, no.
Okay, no problems. I'm going to use 3 Arthur because I want this to work. Please work.
I will say, unless you want to say that this is also a noble.
Yeah, I'll say this is a noble. Yeah.
Cool. You can have your extra die.
I'll have to go. Okay, I'll start it again and then I'll go with it. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So we're looking for a noble student from the Tower of Wisdom who knows what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Base obstacle 3.
Yes.
Okay, come to Papa. Yeah.
Spot on as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Please.
I do get a tick in my.
You do.
Circles, yeah.
You get a difficult one. Right. Yeah. Now you only need a couple of routines and your circles will advance.
It certainly will. I better reduce my persona as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you went full ham.
I really needed this to work because it ties into a belief, so it's important for me.
Yeah, it is. So feel free to name this person, and upon doing so, you will be able to add them to your circles down there below relationships. And if you name them, you will have an additional die to circles them up in the future.
Yep, I've got an idea now. I'm thinking a human female.
Yeah, it would have to be by definition human because we haven't moved
to
the point yet where we can
sense,
overlap in this, which is a thing we can do, but we have to do it as we go. Like Glaria here can become, you can become like the friend of humanity, as they say in the song. Toss a coin to your dwarver. You can develop a trait which will allow you to roll circles for some human people as well, Glarvier, later on, if you pursue that kind of thing.
Right, so
I'm working on that Beric's best bud trait.
Yep. Yeah, the once and future king over here.
So I'm thinking, okay, let's look. Yeah, naming things on the fly is my
specialty.
It's my specialty. So I'm thinking Caitlin. Lyn. Caitlin, she's a noble, so she'll have a title. Caitlin. So I'm thinking, so she's probably from one of the cities.
Well, she has to be from Riathel because that's the reputation you used. or the affiliation, rather. So we know she's a local. Like she could just be, you know, like a line noble, like one of these nobles that don't really have land, but they have a title.
Yeah,
Like
so
a
maybe
minor,
she's like
minor noble.
She's like a duchy, duchess. No,
That's
too
they
high
have
up.
land.
Yeah, that's too high up.
they're
I'm sure
well
I think
to do.
you know, Van der Blades where it was like Duchess Marquis,
Yeah,
like that sort of
yeah.
thing.
That is how it goes. So if you want to, you could just say that this is just a noble like you. Like you have nobility, no exact titles or lands, but you're like up on the social ladder. She doesn't need to be, you know, complex in that regard, unless you want to do that.
Maybe we'll start around a little bit.
You just sketch that up as you wish. We can backfill that later.
I think she's kind of short, maybe like mousy hair kind of thing. Like, but I know from teaching her that she's actually quite accomplished and powerful, but she's got a kind of she looks diminutive, which is she uses to her advantage a lot of the time.
Okay, so not very imposing in stature.
Yeah,
and
I sort of taught at the time. I taught her that using that again when she speaks to the spirits, it's like make them think that you're not as make them like underestimate you. Then when you bargain with them, that already gives you an edge to press against them, especially for the more cunning.
Yeah. So yeah, you do find as you walk about and talk to some people, you do find Caitlin. She is dressed up in the accoutrement of the Covenant. You can tell from the regalia and certain sort of accents on her attire that she is a member of the Covenant of the Flame. But not only that, but she is one of these the ones who can commune with the beyond. So and you taught her how to do that. So that's not surprising to you. But she is one of these people who speak to the entities that the Covenant both worships and also, you know, brings forth to do their bidding.
Yeah.
So in a word, like she is one of these sort of priests of the fire.
She's got a very dangerous employer, I think. I imagine like when I spot her, like me and my familiar sort of turn at the same time, and sort of catch the recognition. I don't know if she notices me initially when I'm staring, and I'll turn to Glavier and say, "Yeah, imagine he's mid like just like formations, like the military, the standards, the weapons.
You see these pikemen over here."
He's just giving a rundown of their countrymen. I'll just say, apologies for the interruption, Glavier, but I think I've just spotted someone I know. This is a real opportunity. I'm going to take it while we have it.
What, that young woman over there?
Yes. An ex-student of mine. I don't know if I ever told you I taught for a time.
No.
I was a teacher.
Ah. Admirable. Admirable.
It may surprise you for the last time I tried to use my arts. It proved unsuccessful in the city. Obviously, the spirits were not willing at the time. Although I am not schooled in your ways, I am no stranger to how occasionally unreliable these things can be. I understand. So, but this is my student. I believe it was Caitlin. I reckon I've seen her all this way out here. She is an accomplished summoner herself. She knows. Yeah,
well, perhaps I should shout her over then.
Well, as I started approach, maybe we should go to her, Glavier. We could always walk towards her.
Yeah, capital idea.
Is she talking to anyone as I approach? Is like she in midst like conversation with
I think it's just like random camp chatter.
I'll try and get her eye. Although I don't want to
Yeah.
just leave it like, huh,
Hey guys.
hey.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, she spots you and says goodbyes to whoever she was talking with, and walks on over and says, "Cameron, well, this is a surprise, to say the least."
That is how I felt too. I wasn't expecting to see you all the way out here, but yet
Have you
Covenant
come to
obviously
join
has
the crusade?
not
He looks
exactly
hopeful.
not for myself. I'm I suppose, and I sort of glanced at Larry, I suppose I'm assisting Lord Beric on behalf of the Dark Watchers, who are my current employer. It is a long tale. So,
I suppose it is. Yes.
I know last we saw each other, I was back at the school, at the tower. I hope you were doing well. You seem in
Oh
fantastic
yes.
health.
Oh yes. I have completed my studies for now, and I'm well fully vested.
I always knew
Happy to
you were
say.
going to go into great things. You
Mhm.
had an excellent eye for the talent, and not easy to be tricked. Sure.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Covenant is chosen well in its members, and that's kind of why I thought when I saw him, I thought I would come and say hi. I mean, we've been traveling with Beric's men for the last few days, keeping to ourselves because as my friend Glavia here gesturing at, I
Mhm.
actually Glavia is just like looking around, kind of taking it all in at the moment. Is sort of giving me a tour of the forces here and the equipment that they brought here. Very new, very organized, and I can't help but curious. I don't suppose you know why. What the Common's intentions are up here.
um, I'm sorry. You, hmm. You didn't come here to join the crusade, but it. Why are you asking? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, um, as part of my I suppose as part of my obligations to the Dark Watchers is to ascertain threats and dangerous magical creatures phenomenon, and Glavia and we've been doing a little bit of research in Dulciriaf, and things we've discovered on our travels are not something you'd find the church interested in. That's why curiosity has sort of got the better of me. So,
Okay,
and
curiosity.
I know yourself. You don't half-ass anything, and the church, for all its faults, certainly does its research. So, how would they come all the way out here?
I'll tell you what. Let's do a trade. Come over here. She moves over to like a little bit of a distance from
Okay.
folks around.
I'll gesture Glavia to come with me unless she rejects. I don't want to be left on.
Shrugs.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll follow Cameron.
For old time's sake, because I really did learn quite a lot, which
You were an excellent pupil.
is why we could have this meeting right here. Feels quite fortuitous. Praise the flame. I
clock the phrase she just used there. Oh no, she drank the Kool-Aid. Oh,
I mean,
no.
she is with the thing called the Crusade.
Yeah, I know, but you could just be an employee. You don't have to drink the
just
corporate BS.
I just you know me. I work the Crusades.
Yeah. I wear the tabard, I sing the songs. Doesn't mean I've
Yeah,
actually bought the membership though.
yeah.
Like,
Like I pay my dues, but that's it. Um, she says, for old time's sake, let's share secrets, right? Um, if you've got something
many things
interesting,
potentially. So
well,
you first. I mean, let's see what the student has. So I say this. I just
well,
say with a genuine smile.
I think in this camp you will find that I am the master now. And she chuckles at her own joke.
Yeah, this true. They do seem to be paying you a lot of respect.
It is ever since I took the communion and, oh, I suppose became a true fire speaker. It is quite the respect afforded to me. Now I do fight against the urge to treat people like some of them do.
Yeah, I understand.
I didn't join for that. I joined for greater things, which is what we're doing here right now. But as it is with secrets, you go first now, and I will share the thing that you are interested in return for something from you first.
You can always
Something
tell
of worth.
about your destiny, Cameron.
I felt your eyes on my back there. Tell her you're gonna burn this to the ground.
Glarius is like, what? Something interesting. Well, you see. Oh,
this is all gonna be gone soon. Don't worry.
All this shall pass.
Well, I will start with probably the most useful thing that you could want. This place you're going, and we have hands-on experience.
Mm-hmm.
The person who resides in the city, he commands using a kind of cursed mark of or a brand. We've seen it, but we don't know if it understands full capabilities, but it appears it allows him to extend his reach and gain control over the people. Now, I suspect the church your convent may already be aware of this. You're nodding, not in surprise, but almost in acclamation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very curious of how they plan to get around that issue.
Well,
and I hope you're not going to say, Faith, I did teach you better than that.
We do have the considerable power of the first flame on our side. And I and others now can bring that forth.
Now, when you say, see, I am not a member of the Covenant myself. Don't hold that against me, Caitlin.
No, I know you to be a believer. It is not there's no need for any proof.
As far as I've seen, you do not wish to bring forth.
I think when she says, "Oh, I know you're a believer, Cameron," I'm gonna be like,
"Yeah."
What?
Do you mean they have summoned some kind of spirit, or a manifestation of the arts, or is this something else?
It is a plan that we will bring to bear the force of both the flame and the earth against any possible bulwarks they might be putting up. But then I am told that the capital is not in a great shape, so that might not be even a thing. And perhaps it is our fellow soldiers who will do most of the work, and I will tend to the ones that are wounded afterwards. I do wish for that outcome, as it is. Not only is it awe-inspiring to reach into the arts, but as you know, it is also a fraught path.
It is a path you should walk with care.
She nods gravely. Like she's not like joking about this. This is like absolute seriousness. So we know about this, whatever this fool is in the capital, who traipses around with this.
He is the king of the old city, even if he may be a shade of his original self. But it is the king, no less.
Oh. Oh, don't be silly now. Well, I suppose anyone can be king as long as no one says they are not.
No, he's in this case. Cameron's been quite literal.
How would that even work?
Through arts, fair or foul, he maintains his life, or some semblance of it.
So we're the original one. She looks like stupefied. Okay. Well, nevertheless, whoever is in that city will soon have fallen to our righteousness, and we will have retrieved the crown of sacred flame.
And what do you intend to do with such a crown?
Well, it will of course be returned to the hierarch in Riathil. You know this. Of course. And then, once the hierarch has the crown, we will have such wonders and such favor from the holy fire. We will be able to undo the wrongs and the faults and the mistakes of centuries. We will start a new dawn, Cameron. A better future for us all. We will cease the border disputes with the folk of the Silver Stars. You know that she means the elves.
Mm-hmm.
We will bring the light of truth to the mountains, assist our mountain friends, not as the Clavier. It will be as if we restart our sordid history, turn a new page, sow new fields.
Let's take it in. So you wish to burn a new future upon the land with this crown. You know it is not the crown that our ancestors created. Oh, we're given. We did. Yeah, so.
She was like,
Mm-hmm.
Whatever old folk legends used to be in circulation, that's all in the past. This is the future, Cameron.
Well, unfortunately, as we were telling Beric not long ago, our kind do not live long enough to understand the mistakes of our predecessors. But as Glavier here, my friend, can attest, bearing a crown comes with a cost. I do not know the Covenant are willing to pay that cost.
She smiles, not in like it's a purely like pleasing idea that brings it to her face as she looks about the camp. Is like, all of us here have sworn our lives to this task. The Covenant is willing to pay any price for a better future. That's the whole reason why we're here. I know not all of us will make it back. I might not make it back, but it's worth the shot.
Well, I certainly respect your loyalty to your oaths.
You are certainly dedicated to the.
She nods like, yes. I should hope that I've given that impression. I've really put forward effort in the in the Tower of Wisdom. My studies very important to me now that I've got to this point. Very important to me that I put them to work at the right place at the right time. And like she puts forward that energy of like she's younger than well both of you really, but younger than Cameron as well.
Her
And
ideals haven't been tempered with the wisdom
no,
of
no,
time.
she has graduated from wizard school and now has her first job, and she's 1000% committed
she's
to
all
this.
in.
She starts explaining how important this is to you in minute detail.
I understand the zeal. I do. I understand that you and everyone here are committed to this.
I know what it is on the streets of Riethel. You and I, Cameron, of course, you were in the tower already, and my people are well off, but I know what goes on in the back streets, the alleys. I don't want that for our people.
I agree with you wholeheartedly that
The hierarch promises a better future, and I think that's worth any shot. And so do my friends here. And she motions towards the camp in general. It's like we're going to make this better for everyone.
I know that you're convinced of that, and I really commend your dedication to this, but I think the Covenant has forgotten that there is only one crown of our people.
There is only the one in the...
This is not our ancestral crown. It is something else.
Well, whatever the ancestral crown is not really helping, is it? If it exists, which we shouldn't really talk about too much here.
True. What I'm trying to say is that this thing, whatever it is, whoever made it, I mean, I totally know who made it, but like, it is a fell thing, and it will not bring what you ask. It will bring change. I do not think it's going to bring the change that you really want. And
I think that's going to be dependent on our resolve and the resolve of the hierarch. I have full confidence.
And if the Covenant is successful here, which is very likely to not be, despite having some of the best talent in the kingdom, you really should consider extremely carefully who you put that crown onto. For what we do know is this person, whoever it is, or we believe it to be the previous king, their voice carries power, raw and undiluted. If you can hear them, it is already too late.
Yeah, you can see the gears turning.
Also, we know the people in Dulciriaf there is a great, I suppose you'd call it a museum there, that once held a large cache of Elven Artifacts, all of which have now been taken and no doubt put to the use of those who dwell in Dulciriaf. And if I, with my memory, if I recall any of the sort of like description tags of that, the stuff that was the Elven stuff that was missing, I'll reel a few off.
Yeah, and we'll elide that because we can backfill that in later on. But you describe all these like the names, and like this was a sword named this on this day. They gave it to such and such king. Yeah. You as we know, you have your iron trap of a memory. Yes.
You would be much better off destroying that crown if you can get hold of it.
We'll get the crown. We'll give it to the hierarch. It'll be fine. It'll be more than fine.
Flash forward 16 sessions there. It was not fine. I hope that the ends to which you are willing to go do not make you regret that decision. But I wish you all the best, Kaelin. I honestly do. You're one of my best students. Maybe not the best, but one of my best students. And your talent is considerable. I hope you do not
You
burn
know,
it
I was
away.
only not the best because I didn't lie as often.
I'd say you got overconfident at times.
Well, I suppose we all have our failings then.
Indeed, as do I.
It's wonderful to see you here. I suppose I can't convince you to, you know, pick up the
Unfortunately,
flame.
my job with the Dark Watches is taking me away from here.
Hmm.
But I feel very fortunate that we have crossed paths when we did, and I really hope I get to see you in the future successful.
I will see you back in Reathil renewed.
See what fate brings us. So I'll greet her warmly, give her like a teacher student hug,
Yeah.
you know, like when it's just
There's a nostalgia filled hug, and he says, "Well, wherever your path takes you, Cameron, flame go with you, light your path."
and the same to you. I'll start to head back to Beric's thing with Glavia. I don't know if I was subtle enough, Glavia, but the idea of them getting the crown fills me with dread.
Well, as well it should, but I would be, put it this way, I would be surprised if they, one, if they manage to obtain the crown, and two, if it brings about this prophesized golden age that they seem to be reaching for. After all, we know the corrupting effects that this thing, this false crown,
Indeed,
can have on people. I believe that, although I'm only basing this on my gut feelings, that even a person with the best of intentions, which I do not know if this hierarch is, I do not know him, even a person with good intentions may be drawn into the long shadow that the flame crown casts.
I feel that whoever, do we actually know what the Hierophant is, the leader?
You do know who that person is, yes. You're from
current-
Reathil. That's where their grand cathedral is,
I
grand
don't know if we know
temple.
anything about this person.
So not really, but you know who it is.
Right.
So I'll put that in the chat. Okay.
Mariande.
Yeah.
Even if
you know
Miranda
that
isn't-
she's the hierarch, but other than that, not really.
flame.
You're gonna need to start rolling some dice to
Yeah, another
get
wise
some more
coming.
info. Yeah.
As I said, I'll continue to clarify. Even if Miranda is of the noblest of spirits, I feel like their vision of a new dawn may be bad for the rest of everyone, not just my people, yours, the elves. There was a certain zeal there, a certain indication, if you picked up on it, that they intend to bring in the elves and the dwarves to their belief, and I don't think that will go so well.
My thoughts are that any attempt to forge an alliance based upon the elves and my own kind adopting a human faith is doomed to failure. The old alliance was not built on us all being the same or all marching on one banner. It accepted that all of our races spoke with very different voices, but that those voices could complement each other. And it is my belief that any alliance that does not take our differences as well as our similarities into account is doomed to failure. My only hope is that when their flame burns out and you stand in the ashes of their ruined organisation, that they have not done too much damage and burnt too much of the world down as they fell. I say, when you stand in the burning ashes of...
In the middle of their camp.
You say true. We used to ally ourselves with our faith in each other. not in some external force.
Yeah, and as we know, Cameron more than Glarvier, but Cameron, you know that this isn't like an ancestral belief.
Oh, it's relatively recent.
Yeah, it didn't exist in Dulciriaf.
I've always found it strange, Cameron. As we have said earlier, my kind and the elves, we do not place our faith in beings such as your kind seem to do. It is always I've always found it strange that your kind seems so eager to place their faith in some abstract deity, some figure that embodies their best qualities, rather than try and bring out those qualities in each other and place their faith in each other. The elves have their belief that they're all part of an endless cycle. My kind believe we return to the earth and become as the bones of the earth when we pass. But while we are here, we do not place our faith in such beings. We, amongst the dwarves, we are pragmatic. We place our faith in each other, as the elves, from my limited experience, seem to do. It is perhaps a lesson that would benefit your people to do likewise.
I feel like we have learned the wrong lesson from our short lives, where you have the longevity of understanding the passing with grace. We seem to think that we need to believe that we have some kind of connection to something bigger than ourselves, because our life and death time frame in respect to yours and Tyrella's is so close together.
Indeed, I would rather a stout clansman at my side, who I can place my faith in their strength of arms, their codes of honour, and that of those around me, than in some mystical being who, if they even exist at all, I can no doubt not hope to understand.
Well, I am a curious individual, Glavia, and the church has not been around for that long, the Covenant. I've tried previously to find out where it came from, the origin, if it was a person, a creature, a spirit. I've consulted with various entities, but yet they seem reluctant to provide that information. It's always made me curious. It could be one of them. Something could be actively hiding itself. Either way, I feel that it's whatever it is. It's not something that has any of the sentient creatures' best interest at heart. They talk like they speak with one mind, similar to what we kind of encountered up in Dulciriaf. Well, thankfully, not enough to draw the king's attention.
I would counsel anyone to be wary of an entity, a being, whatever you want to call it, who promises much while seeming to ask very little.
I do wonder what kind of interpretation we can take from your reading of the runes earlier. Do I destroy them by helping them? Accident?
Many things are possible within the tides of fate.
Many things.
I'm sure in time it will be revealed to us.
Perhaps the Covenant burns himself out trying to attain this crown, only for Beric to get it. Thereby, your two predictions coming true.
All I will say is it seems a remarkable coincidence to me, if coincidence it be, that this Covenant of the Flame are making such efforts to retrieve an item known as the Flame Crown.
If that was even its original name.
Indeed.
The only person who would know that was not entirely forthcoming.
But we know that the Flame Crown itself is not an item of the ancient world, although it is old. And as you say, the Covenant of the Flame is fairly new. the wearer of the crown has only become active fairly recently. Again, it seems more than a coincidence that these two events have coincided.
Sorry, Wheelmaster, did we have any idea what triggered the stirring of Dulciriaf?
No, and you don't have the sort of proper time frame for it.
You don't have a
right now.
context yet to
Yep.
even begin to roll for something like that.
Yeah, well, you can start rolling whenever you like. There's no, moratorium on that, but currently you don't have an exact idea of when things started happening there. But at least you know that it's not being like super overt, because word didn't reach anyone until lately. But whatever, like you don't know if they've been like on the down low or just became active recently.
Yeah. Something funky is going on.
Indeed. Is there anything else you wish to do here, or should we make for Strathfel?
No, I'm ready to retire for the evening. I do not. I should be careful walking among these covenants, considering your proclamation earlier.
I've been alive longer than their religion has existed.
Is that a fact?
You don't know. There's no way for you to confirm.
I believe, as you've said, the human propensity for such things may be related to your relatively short lifespan. After all, there are elders amongst my kind who will have seen numerous human religions rise and fall. We know that such things are transitory.
Would that we had the wisdom of your years. Not be in this situation.
And yet, even though you may not live as long as us, look at the many great kingdoms your kind have built, and what you have achieved, given that you have so little time compared to us to do it. I sometimes think that, as well as being a curse, your short lives are also a gift, because it spurs you to take quick action and strive towards your goals, whereas my kind, or those of elven kind, may take a more slower and, granted, a more perhaps measured approach, since we have more time. But in my experience, humans accomplish an awful lot in the time my kind would still be planning and working towards their goals. So perhaps it is also a blessing.
When you say it's true, there are advantages and disadvantages.
Indeed.
Right.
As is the way with most things. That is why I'm suspicious of this deity that they follow. I'm suspicious of anyone who offers an open hand without revealing their interests, or at least, well, as we have seen with Lord Beric, when you asked him for borrowing some of the alchemical equipment, he asked for a trade. That I understand. That seems right to me. You wish something from him, therefore he wishes something from you in exchange. I am always as we saw with Wraithwin as well, that was the case. I am always wary of anyone who seems to offer a lot but asks very little.
Delivers little.
Are they really asking little, or is the price simply hidden?
Well, they certainly believe in what they're doing. Was Caitlin a member of the Covenant when I taught her, Wheelmaster? I feel like she wasn't, but that's just
not in this capacity at any rate. No.
Yeah.
No.
There was a lot of like subliminal zeal messages going through the conversation, so I picked it up. Like, she really has drunk the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and you gave her the tools to make it happen.
Did I?
You taught her the craft that she is now being employed for.
I give her all the stuff she needed
Yeah.
by telling her about the city.
No, you gave her the craft of summoning,
It's true.
which she's now using on behalf of the Covenant.
But she doesn't really like non ones.
Well, I suggest, Cameron, we rest now, get a good night's sleep, and in the morning we make for Strathfel.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And I think we'll, in the interest of proceeding here, I think we'll elide the evening and also the following trek back to Strathfel, and we'll end in Strathfel as you arrive back in town. Of course, the army camp is gone, and your friend, of course, Tyrell is with you. Tyrell excuses himself and goes off to deal with apparently his elven contacts that he has referred to. So Tyrell is heading off to deal with that, and you are going in to see about the little letter that you got to deliver to the steward, and you find the little rat-faced Steward Ostor, your friend in Strathfel, at Lord Beric's manor, and give the letter to him. He promptly produces a knife, takes off the seal, reads it, sort of grimaces at it, and folds his back, puts it in his robes, and he says, "Well, I welcome you back to Strathfel on behalf of Lord Beric. I look forward to hearing all about the situation up north. And it does appear that Lord Beric wishes me to accompany you on whatever dim-witted trip you're heading on next. So I suppose we'll have to sit down and plan this one out."
Indeed. Although I should caution you to show some respect, since we are travelling to the ancient homeland of my people.
It's going to be quite a journey. One I'm looking forward to.
Oh, really?
You better start believing in adventures. You're in one.
And with that, we'll close it out.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah. So we close out on those words as Ostor is both like bewildered, flustered, and also just not enjoying the idea.
To be fair,
Right.
that's
Tyrell's going to love it when I'm like, "Oh, by the way, your mate's coming along with us."
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much for running that. I very much enjoyed it.
Yep.
Obviously, sort out Arthur
Yeah.
or whatever, but I'm
Yep.
going to end the stream here. So thank you very much again, guys. Thoroughly enjoyed the session.
Thanks for playing.